In this video, we are going over tips and tricks as well as trigger install troubleshooting. Before we begin, you should please note these modifications should only be done by a trained professional gunsmith, and they are intended to make your firearm safe and reliable. As always, when dealing with any firearm at all times, maintain the utmost respect and safety of your firearm and follow these guidelines. The quickest and easiest process we use is an overhand technique, in which you begin by placing your thumb under the beaver tail with your palm over the slide. This will allow you to get a good grip. Squeeze your hand and it will pull the slide back slightly. Using your other hand, pull down on the slide lock lever on both sides of the frame. You can then release the tension with your right hand and pull off the frame. The second and more common technique is an underhand version where you grasp the pistol with your thumb under the back strap and wrap your fingers over the top of the slide. Be careful not to get pinched by the barrel during the pullback. Again, squeeze back on the slide and with your other hand, pull down the slide lever lock on both sides and release your grip on the right hand to move the slide forward. Sometimes you may pull the slide back too far, which will engage the trigger. If the trigger is engaged prior to disassembly or upon performing the actions of disassembly, simply pull the trigger to release the tension, and this will result in the slide being able to be removed. Next, we'll go over some quick tips and tricks on how to disassemble your Glock without the assistance of standard items if you are out of the range, for example. You can use a roll of tape or even your hand. Basically anything that will lift the frame off the table and give you leverage. Begin by holding the frame over your ring and middle fingers, making sure that you don't have your fingers under the pins, and keeping your index finger free so that you can maneuver the slide release. It's a good idea to use either a padded surface or a cloth to catch the pins, as they can sometimes roll away. With something such as a tape roll, it's a bit easier and similar to the armorer's block. Simply follow the same process while placing the frame over the tape roll with the pins in the center. That way you can use it to prop the frame up, as well as a place to hold all your parts so they don't roll away. Next, we'll show you what happens when the spring is placed over the pin. This is a result of incorrect reassembly or possibly sometimes a worn-out spring. As you can see here, the spring for the slide release is in the wrong position, which is over the top of the locking block pin, and so each time the slide gets pulled, it locks back. This can happen and can be a common issue. It's pretty easy to diagnose, and it's not going to hurt your firearm. However, it will not work properly and may lead to further safety issues, so you want to reinstall the slide release and the pins correctly so the spring is clearly under the pins. Fixing this problem is simple if you remember from our previous video. Begin by removing the slide, the two pins, and the slide release. Remove the locking block pin and reinstall the slide release, followed by the trigger pin. Then reinstall the slide and pull the trigger. And finally, test for functionality. That's that for troubleshooting for the trigger install as well as tips and tricks on disassembly. If you have any questions about our products, call the customer service number provided in the description of this video. Stay tuned for our next video right here at Zev Technologies.